Hi there, welcome back to another exciting afternoon making mixed media projects. My name is Campbell and I live for mixed media. I feel like we have the whole world of all the art supplies at our disposal to make whatever we want. And in this video, I wanted to dive into the 5 ways that I love to use collage in my mixed media projects. So there's 5 ways that I love to use collage, and they're not always intuitive. So I wanted to walk through all 5 of the ways in this video. And then at the end, I want you to tell me your favorite way that you use collage. And did I miss anything? Did I leave any out? I feel like I captured them all, but maybe I didn't. So without further ado, we're gonna start with number 1, which is the classic way that almost everyone uses collage, which is using it for background. Now there's 2 ways that you can use collage for the background. I don't mean 2 ways, but there's 2 purposes, I would say, for a collage background. In this example I'm showing you, I really want the images and the vintage feel to really set the tone for the entire piece. So I want to make sure that all of it is being able to be seen at the end when I'm all finished. So I have a foreground who's going to be a girl that you'll see in a minute, but I really want you to be able to see all of it. So this will remain exposed. And this is probably the easiest way to do collage and a great reason to do it. And then that way, when you put your foreground piece on top, you can still see all the beautiful designs of the collage kind of underneath, but showing through. Another way that you can use collage is to actually use it for just texture purposes. And remember, you don't have to just use paper. You can use lots of different things. I've used like wrappers from candy bars before. You can use trash. It's a great way to upcycle things, and actually masking tape is a great collage ingredient. As a matter of fact, it accepts paint really well, even if you don't use gesso, which I do dress gesso over this, but it creates a lot of awesome texture. And none of this is actually meant to be shown in the final project, but I'm using it because I want to create a specific super like edgy, cool effect at the end. And this is a great example of using a collage where you don't want to necessarily have it showing through, but you're using the collage elements strictly for textural background purposes, which is equally valid and super duper fun. This is number 2, my favorite way of using collage, which is actually using it for foreground elements. And this is exactly what I mean. 2 examples of exactly how I use it for foreground. So this one might also seem sort of obvious, but you can use collage for big elements that are up front in your subject. So in this case, I'm using it to depict this coat. This is No Nonsense Nana that I did for actually all of these are for my Mixed Media Society members. But in this case, I took the scrapbook paper, I had a reference, and I transferred the shape and the outlines from my reference onto a piece of scrapbook paper. And then I'm using matte medium to apply it onto my canvas. And then this is quite literally her coat. And this is such a great use of a collage element in mixed media, where it also saves you from having to have any drawing skills. So it takes the place of an entire foreground element. And I'll just show you the kind of final piece. You can see how it ended up on. So the grandma on the right and the left have foreground coats, and the one in the middle is done in a different way. So here's another example of using a collage piece element as a foreground. So I decided to paint her top in this one, and then I'm using the collage as just the bow element in her hair for this little button girl series that I'm also doing for my Mixed Media Society members. And this is so nice. You just transfer the outline from your reference onto your collage paper, and then glue it on, and then you can draw in the outlines on top, and it looks like so realistic and so crazy cool. But it's another great example of doing a combination of doing collage as the background. In this case, also the foreground elements. Also used it for her hairpiece in the girl on the right. So I hope this gives you some new ideas of how to use collage in the foreground. Number 3 is, to be honest, it's my least favorite, but I think it's because I haven't practiced it enough. So I really want to explore more ways of using collage this way, and that's to make your entire whole piece out of collage pieces. So if this is something that you're good at and that you like to do, can you let me know? Maybe link to some videos that I can check out, because I really do want to get better at this way. Number 3. So this is such a challenge for me. I don't know why. It really tests my creativity. So in this project, we are using Collage as all of the components. It's all the background and it's all the foreground. And I find this to be super duper challenging. So the background, easy peasy, okay. But the foreground, I've seen projects like this before done so successfully, and I love how they look, but doing them in real life is actually difficult. It's like really is a puzzle. As you can tell, I totally started and had to start over because I wasn't doing my puzzle back correctly. So you have to sort of know all the shapes and where you're going and then reconstruct them correctly onto your own paper. It was super challenging. I think this is why I don't do this very often, but I do really love the result. So I just have only 2 in my archives, both, again, Mixed Media Society lessons for my members. And besides the pretty purple pump project you just watched, I also have this one with to do with flowers. This is really fun. I love ripping versus cutting everything up. So this one is all done with rips, with the exception of that sort of base table, but it's all done with scrapbook paper. So it does definitely helps you to think outside the box and be super creative. And the results I like, but again, I just find it mechanically sort of the most difficult of all of the different options when it comes to working with collage. But I hope these are helpful and fun. Number 4 is one of my favorite other ways to use collage. This is really fun. This actually came from me working with kids long before I had a YouTube channel and I was teaching adults at Awesome Art School. I actually taught children in my home, and I used to buy paper punches. And I have a huge collection of punches, and I still use them to this day to add so many fun elements. There's so many cool punches out there, from like hearts to birds to musical notes. They even have like wine bottles to snowflakes to flowers to leaves. So if you have not experimented with punches yet, you totally should start acquiring them. It's a great way to incorporate collage. Boom, flower made out of your favorite scrapbook paper. It's really freeing, it's very creative, and it's super fun. Here's 2 examples of projects that I've used using collage in punches. So here is a perfect example, and I always start, and I love this process, by rummaging through a single booklet of scrapbook paper, because then I know all the colors are going to perfectly coordinate with one another. It's a great way to choose the color scheme of your project that you're working on, and you know that they're all going to go together. It's super duper fun. So you can see I'm smothering my entire canvas that's been painted with Mod Podge. You can do the same thing with matte medium or an acrylic medium, and you can just use it too. I have pre-punched all of these different flowers using different styles of paper punches, and then you can just simply adhere them on. And in this case, I put buttons in some of them as the centers, which is a common thing that I like to add to my mixed media projects. And they're so cute. Plus, there's no drawing skills required, so it's so great for all ages. Kids love these, but I love them. I feel like it makes me a kid at heart when I go to use them. So here is a second example. Again, these are both Mixed Media Society projects, and this one I'm actually using scrapbook paper for all 3 ways that I've mentioned so far. I'm using them as the background. Those are actually just little pieces peeking through. I use it as the foreground for his clothes, and I'm using the paper punches to create the snowflakes on top. I mean, it doesn't really get any more collagey than this whole piece. I freaking love this guy so much. A little wacky whiskered mixed media style. All of these, the last few projects, have been using my hamburger method, which is my favorite way to layer. Just adding some little finishing details there around the edges with a stamp pad. And then you can see when he's all done. But he is fully collaged up and so much fun. Hope you enjoyed that little glimpse. Last but not least, this is maybe the most unusual way to use collage in your mixed media projects, and that's actually to use collage as a very intentional mid-ground. So sometimes I will go out of my way to cut out a collage and put it on a face so that it intentionally shows through the skin. So take a look at these two examples so I can show you exactly what I mean. So this sounds a little bizarre, and it is sort of a little bizarre. It feels bizarre even while you're doing it. So I had this music sheet background, but then I knew I wanted to really show through the face. So actually, after I made the background, I went ahead and cut out the shape of the head and the neck with the same paper because I really wanted to like really bring it almost into the foreground almost when I go to create this whimsical face. And then you can see it's showing through a lot more than it would have in a very intentional way. This second example is a lot closer to kind of how you would work on toned paper, where the collage, in this case, being like the tone paper, is all of the skin tone. And then you're just adding basically like the shading and the highlights with your paint. And even the paint I'm using in this case is like a golden fluid acrylic, so it's super transparent. It's not opaque at all, so that the effect is even more exaggerated than the last example. And so like all of the collage paper through the face is really shining through. So it's really, the collage is the background and the foreground sort of all mixed in together in perfect harmony. Love it. Let me know in the comments below, 1 through 5, what your favorite use of collage is, and maybe also one that you might like to try that you haven't tried before. And click on this playlist, and that will walk you through some more collage projects that I've done here for you on YouTube. And if you want to do any of the projects that I've shown you, they're all available in my Mixed Media Society, which you can learn more about in the description box below. I'll see you next Wednesday for another video.